Hey, how's it going, everybody? I wanted to put this series together to help people figure out what portals are worth spending their gems on based on what point they're at in the game. I think no matter where you're at, this is a question that you're trying to find the answer to. And depending on how invested you are in the game or using the forum, this is something you may or may not have a lot of information about. So I want to talk through each of the summoning portals, all the relevant information around that, and then give my verdict on which I think are the best to focus on based on where you're at in the game, and hopefully be able to help you figure out where is the best place for you to spend your gems. So in this first episode, we're going to be looking at the Costume Chamber. This is a summoning opportunity that comes up once a month and coincides with the 3-day costume quest. As you're probably already aware, this is a quest where you complete stages to earn keys, which can be exchanged for summons. It's 5 keys per summon, but you can also earn keys through any of the other wanted missions, as I think they're called, like the Titan chest, the Monster chest, the Raid chest, and things like that. So there are a ton of costumes in the Costume Chamber, and there will be even more added in this next chunk that's going live soon. They're adding 21 more, and there's probably about 20 of them in there now. So it's definitely the biggest pool of heroes to be pulling from. Granted, it is a pool of Season 1 heroes, but the additions of the costumes bring about a lot of positive changes that I'll talk about here in a second. But I honestly think that all of the costumes are good. Some are definitely better than others, but they all add an advantage to the hero, and they all make heroes that were losing their relevance super relevant again. So for that reason, I think this is really a great pool to choose from. There's so many possibilities that you can get, and like a few of my favorites, any of the 4-star healers are great. Bold Tusk, Melindor, Costume Regard is fantastic. All of the 5-star fast snipers are made even better with the bonus that you get with costumes that I'll talk about in a second. And then the 3-star costumes are now becoming almost essential to compete in the tournaments, and they give you a little bit of an edge, and obviously those ones are pretty easy to get. So I think almost anything you can get from this portal is going to increase the effectiveness of your roster. So yeah, there's a lot of really great heroes in here that are every bit as relevant as some of the other event heroes and heroes coming out in other portions of the game, and are flat out better than some of the event heroes even. So if we look at the rates for this costume chamber, keep in mind that these can change. As we have seen lately in the game, anything can be subject to change. So I'm going to cover, to the best of my knowledge, what these are now without the quest being currently active. But just keep in mind that I wouldn't lean completely on these without checking for yourself when the event becomes active. They're not going to be drastically different, granted, but I just wanted to mention that so people don't assume that these will always stay the way they are. They probably will, but there's no guarantee of that. So to get a 3-star, you have a 71% chance. To get a 4-star, you have a 26.5% chance. To get a non-featured 5-star, you have a 1.2% chance. To get a featured 5-star, you have a 1.3% chance. And to get a Hero of the Month, you also have a 1.3% chance. So it's nice that they built the Hero of the Month aspect into this. And it should also be mentioned that when I mention you have a 1.2% chance to get a non-featured 5-star, that means that if there are, let's say, 10, then you have a 0.12% chance of a particular hero. So this is not the kind of thing where you can just keep pulling until you get one particular hero unless you're prepared to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, because the chances are just so low for that. And the same is true for the featured 5-stars. It's a 1.3% chance split between, I think it's 2 that they feature. So that gives you half of that for one of those in particular. The other thing is the Ascension item chest, similar to Season 2, the Atlantis portal. So every 10 draws, You get a Ascension material chest, which has the chance of giving you non-farmable 3-star materials or 4-star Ascension items. So it's nice that they added that. They did increase the price of it when they did do that. So yeah, we'll come to the price in a second. I want to talk about what makes these heroes particularly good, in my opinion. So the best thing about the costume chamber and the heroes that you can get from it is the costume bonus. This was something that they added when they came out with the costumes to try to increase the relevance of the Season 1 heroes, which were quickly losing their relevance. Not all of them equally, but it was a class of heroes that was clearly worse than the new emerging heroes, and with most free-to-play players getting their 5-star heroes from TC20, that meant that their main pool of heroes was just not very relevant for the game. I think that is fair to a degree. I think if you want to play the game for free, that's fine. But I do think it's important to know that if you're not paying, there cannot necessarily be the same expectation of getting everything that a paying player would get. Otherwise, what's the reason to pay? So I think it's important to temper your expectations if you are playing for free on what can be reasonably expected to be had. But that's another reason why the costume chamber is so great, because you can earn the keys all throughout the month. If you are able to complete all the quests, you can do 2 pulls in the costume chamber. But I can pretty easily get between 10 to 15 keys from other areas of the game in between the costume quests, giving me about 4 to 5 free pulls per month. And with as relevant as almost all of these costumes are, I think that's great. So if we look at the costume bonus specifically, you can expect to get, once you've fully maxed the hero and the costume, a 5% boost to attack based on the base attack of the fully maxed hero, a 5% boost on defense, again based off the defense stat of the fully maxed hero, a 10% boost to HP, and a 5% boost to mana generation. So the most notable of those for me is the mana boost, because what that means is for an average speed hero who normally takes 10 tiles to charge, like Costume Regard for example, if you factor in the 5% mana generation boost, you only need a level 5 mana troop to get the other 7% mana generation needed to make this hero charge in 9 tiles instead of 10. Since this game relies on matching groups of 3 or more, the advantage of charging in 9 tiles versus 10 is huge. That's 3 matches and you can charge, which is usually what it takes you to charge a fast hero. Fast heroes take 8 tiles. Rarely are you getting 2 matches of 4 to achieve that, so typically you're charging up a fast hero by matching 9 tiles. So for an average speed hero to be charging at the same speed as a fast speed hero, or what I've heard called functionally fast, where it is technically 1 more tile, but because all the increments of matches are in 3 or more, they're both ending up being 9 tiles. So that makes Costume Regard, Costume Bold Tusk, Costume Melindor, any of the average speed heroes, Costume Richard, if we want to look at some of the 5 stars, Costume Kirill, which is coming, they're basically all functionally fast if you have a level 5 mana troop in that color. So that's a huge advantage. The other thing is, with these stat boosts, it doesn't matter whether you're using the uncostumed version of the hero or the costumed version, they will each get the stat boost based on what their base stats were. So the base stats between the 2 versions do vary a bit. They kind of tweak the function of the card a little bit. They keep them pretty close, but the talent class does change and the stats do shift a little bit. So there is some variation there, but you keep the stat boost across both. So not only when you pull one of these heroes are you getting 2 versions of the same hero taking up only the roster space of 1 because you can store infinite costumes, but you're getting a better version of the hero over what you can expect to get from any of the other portals. From any other portal, if you summon a 4-star hero, a Season 1 hero, for example, you're getting them without the costume, so you're getting them without the stat boost. So if you don't have a lot of these heroes already, the costume chamber is a fantastic place to get those because you're getting the costume with it as well and the stat boost that comes along with that. So the cost of this chamber is the same as the Atlantis summons, and I think the same as the Valhalla summons. I can't remember that off the top of my head, but I would imagine the Season 2 and Season 3 portals to be the same. So it's 350 gems or 5 costume keys for each single pull, or 3,000 gems for a 10 pull. I think the costume chambers also have a 30 pull option, in which would be 8,400 gems. I'm pretty sure the prices are all the same as Atlantis. Granted, these things could change. It's doubtful they will. It's possible I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that I'm definitely sure about the single gem cost, the 10 pull cost being 3,000, and the 30 being 8,400. I feel pretty confident about those numbers. And then the advantage of that is, like I mentioned before, you're getting the Ascension item chest with it. Okay, so what is my final verdict on whether the costume chamber is a good place to spend your gems? Absolutely yes. I think it is one of the best places to spend your gems, especially if you're new to the game. Even if you're not new to the game, say you have a lot of the Season 1 snipers already, well, now you're getting a stat boost to all of them to make them even more relevant against the tough teams that you're facing, and make some of them even emblem worthy, which, depending on the depth of your roster, was not true to begin with. But if you're new and you need these heroes anyways, you might as well get them in the form that's going to give you these additional stat boosts and make these average speed healers, which you're going to rely on for a long time, charging at fast speed with only a level 5 mono troop. So granted, getting mono troops is not the easiest thing, but if you get one, it's not hard to level it up to level 5. So that advantage is just huge. If we're looking at some of the fast speed heroes, you used to need, I can't remember if it's level 28 or level 29 when that last mana break point is for the mono troops, but you used to need a level 28 or 29, which is an insane amount of food and troop feeders to get to that point. Like, I think my highest is a level 17, and I've been playing for 9 months. And from level 17 to going from level 1 to level 17 is probably half as much as it is going from level 17 to level 29, even though there are fewer levels for the latter. It's just a crazy amount of resources. So with the 5% mana boost, I only need a level 17 troop now for a fast speed hero to charge in 7 tiles instead of 8 tiles. Granted, that's not as even of a number as a very fast hero with a mono troop, a level 11 mono troop charging in 6 tiles, because that's only 2 matches, but any advantage is an advantage. So yeah, when you look at Costume Liana's base stats, they're huge. Like, the jump is significant, and I'm, as stingy as Small Giant can be, I am surprised that they gave so much away with a costume bonus. So I cannot say enough good things about them. I recommend leveling every single costume you get. You only need 1 costume to level up duplicate versions of it, though you do have to level that same costume for every version. So if I want to have 4 costume regards, I only need 1 regard costume, and I would have to level it 4 times for 4 regular copies of regard that I would have to have. So I also mentioned before about getting the extra versatility without the drain on your roster space. So being able to have regard and costume regard, which are 2 different versions of the same hero, and I can use either version and I don't have to take up 2 roster spaces. The obvious limitation is I couldn't use them both on the same team, and there are some other limitations where, like, if one form is on your tournament team, you can't change the form in another fight. So that's the reason to maybe have 2 copies leveled up if you plan on wanting to use them differently in different places, or if you want to have multiple where you can use across multiple fights. Like, a lot of people are leveling up, 4 to 5 to 6 maybe costume regards to use in all their war attack teams because he's just that good, and even putting emblems on him. So yeah, I think this is a fantastic portal regardless of what stage you're at in the game, because unless you have all the costumes, you're getting something new no matter what, and a lot of them are just a way to add pretty fantastic versatility to what in many cases were already good heroes to begin with. So I was lucky to get the Liana costume, and it's a huge stat boost. There's 2 forms that I can use depending on, I don't know, what mood I'm in, I guess you could say. And then it has the mana boost, so that with my level 17 troop, she's charging faster than any other fast hero. So, final verdict, absolutely great place to spend your gems. One of the best, regardless of where you're at in the game. And there are 21 new costumes being added. So this video should be going out on Monday. Those costumes are being added to the event that same day. And there should be another batch to come, which I don't know if they'll finish off all the heroes that have not gotten a costume in one more batch, or if they'll split it up into 2, but there's even more coming. So while that happens, it does dilute the pool of getting one costume in particular, but it increases the likelihood of you not just getting a bunch of duplicates of the same one. I guess one final point to make is that if you do get duplicate costumes, the game will not let you feed away your last version. So you can use all duplicates to level up other costumes. If you use a duplicate regard costume to level up another regard costume, you'll get the biggest boost to XP, but using any costume to level another costume gives you a lot of XP. They did nerf how much XP you're getting from this. For some reason, they decided that was something that needed to change. So it's not as good as it used to be, but it still is a lot. So great place to spend your gems. The very last point I want to mention is don't chase particular heroes. This goes for any summon portal, but especially for one with a pool as big as the costume chamber pool is. The chances of getting a particular one are very low, which means that far more often than not, it will end in disappointment as opposed to excitement. So I think the best thing to do is just, even if they're featured, I think the chance is greater if they're featured, but the chance is still very small and not reliable enough that you can just keep pulling and expect to get that. You could spend hundreds of dollars and still not get it. So I think the best strategy is either set a budget of what you're willing to spend and stick to that, or just let this be a thing where you use your free pulls every month, and sometimes you get nothing and sometimes you get something great, Even like I said, the 3-star costumes are still absolutely worth leveling up. And one of them, the Gunner costume, was even being used by people competing in the Epic level challenge event. So their relevance is significant, but I just wanted to include don't chase particular heroes, because far more often than not, it will just lead to disappointment and you'll regret having spent that money to begin with. So thank you guys so much for watching this first episode of Where to Spend Your Gems, focusing on the costume chamber. I haven't planned what to do for the second episode. I'm going to slowly cover all the portals. So let me know in the comments if you have a particular request for the next one, or maybe I'll release a poll as a community post to try to let you guys choose what I'm going to focus on next. Like I said, I do plan to cover them all, but I'm happy to go in the order that is most preferred. So I'll probably put out a poll for that, so make sure you keep an eye out for that if you want to vote. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and keep an eye out for episode 2 coming soon.